With two hands. Hello, everybody. Welcome to On the Deck, the weekly recap. It's October 4th. I am your host here, mikO Tolliver. And I know that I'm usually here with Antonio Ortiz, but he couldn't make it. He went out of town this week. That's right. And
Yeah,
remember we were
sure
talking about
did.
last week? Yeah. So instead, this week I am joined by our weekend manager, D Minor. What's up, D Minor?
Oh man, it's a lot going on. It's a
Yeah.
lot going on in the world today, especially in the world of KPFA. So, we're doing a lot of things, and so we're here to talk about it and let folks know who have been with us and who are just joining us.
Yes.
Want to
Right.
let folks know what's going on with KPFA.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here to join us. Some of you guys may notice I have these big old stunners on it, which, yeah, because I'm cool, but also because I was feeling kind of down today. Um, and that's why we're doing on the deck, off the deck. That's what we say when we're doing it remotely. So Antonio couldn't make it. E Miner's here helping me out. I'm feeling a little under the weather, but it's all right because we're going to make it happen. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just remind you guys that On the Deck is a show that goes over announcements and stuff for KPFA Radio, which you can tune into for 94.1 FM. And you can also go to kpfa.org to find out more information. And anything we talk about here in this segment, you can find a link to that in the post there. So you just kind of go, oh, she mentioned this show. Oh, he mentioned that episode. And the link is right there in the post. So check that out. But once again, D Minor's here helping me out. D Minor, thanks so much again. And then D Minor, you are the host of Let's Talk Music, which is Sundays at 8 p.m. So I guess, yeah, let's talk music. What are you guys doing on that show?
So this past Sunday, we actually had a young lady by the name of Paloma on the show, and she's from EDM Maniac. And Paloma talked about the festival that took place a couple of weeks ago in Chicago. And so it's a house and dance techno event, mainly house. But she had just came back and we were talking about everything we basically recapped the festival. But we also talked about um, Frankie Knuckles, who is really big in that world musically, just a giant musically. So we talked about Frankie Knuckles and all that he contributed to techno, or well, really house music. And we talked about some of the new artists, and she actually had did an interview that we actually had played. And so yeah, we talked a lot about Chicago house, and then Detroit and all those areas of how they were a hotbed for house, tech, and dance music. And yeah, so that's what we actually did. And with Let's Talk Music, we didn't really go into that area. We hadn't really touched house yet. So it was really great that we were able to go into that hotbed of that genre and just really get in the pocket. So that was a really fun show, and Paloma really came through, and especially in talking about what she's been doing with EDM Maniac.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I'm really into house music. Would you say that Let's Talk Music, you guys talk about all kinds of music, or would you guys say you focus on like house music and a certain type of music?
No, with that particular program, Thomas and I, you never know. So like we touched on house this past Sunday.
Yeah.
Uh, the Sunday before that, we hit. We actually had a young lady on by the name of Renee who does bilingual children's music.
Oh, okay. So it totally is diverse. You're literally talking music.
Yeah,
You're like, if it's
so,
music, that's what we're talking about.
yeah, and then and then in upcoming shows, we're gonna talk about the Beatles,
Oh,
and
the
we're gonna
Beatles.
talk about specifically John Lennon, and with his 81st birthday coming up on the 9th of October. So we're going to talk about that. So yeah, we hit on everything, and then we'll even touch on like we'll touch on hip hop. Like we talked about the top 200 that Rolling Stones had put out on the top 200 best hip hop albums. So we came together and curated our own favorite albums, the top 20 or top 15, or however you want to call it. So we touched on that, and we literally broke it down.
Are you a Beatles fan?
Love the Beatles.
Yeah. Okay. Who's your favorite Beatle?
Depends on the day, but
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Let's try this. Let's try this. Who's your least favorite Beatle?
Rango.
Really? Okay. Because I would say my favorite Beatle is really a tie between John and George. and both of them were Rickenbacker players, which, you know, if I turned my
Yeah,
camera to the side, you could see my Rickenbacker guitar over there. It used to be right here. I replaced it. I got a new guitar here. But I would say it's John and George. Then I would go Ringo. And actually, my least favorite Beatle is Paul. Now
really.
it is, and it has nothing to do with his artistic ability because we know that he's the one who brought like the harmony and stuff like that to the Beatles. But I guess I feel like anytime I've heard like John talk about him or something like that, they were just like, yeah, he was just about money, and I was like, yeah, I don't like that.
Well, it's funny because Little Richard had said something, and he said that Brian Epstein, their manager at the time of them getting started, actually had propositioned Little Richard to be a co-owner of the Beatles, and Little Richard really felt that they were not going to make it. And when he heard them for the first time, he said that he said, you know, you could hear the hesitation in his voice. He said they sound good. He said Paul was amazing, and he said his exact words were, to him, to me, I thought he could make it himself.
Wow.
And which I was very surprised because he's such a rocker. And even he said the Rolling Stones, he knew right then and there that they were going to blow up because they were rockers. But John, in my opinion, I thought he was the rocker of the band. So I would have assumed that it would have been him to that. I would have thought Little Richard would have kind of gone more with a John Lennon as opposed to a Paul McCartney. I kind of see why he went with that, but yeah.
See, yeah, my the way that I categorize the Beatles totally has to do with like personality. It has nothing to do with their musical ability. Because I guess if we did go musical ability, I might actually say Paul could be my favorite because he plays guitar or he makes the melodies. He plays guitar and writes the songs like a piano player, and that's how I like to play guitar when I play it. Like I
Yeah,
actually like to add more elements to it where I'm kind of turning into a piano player.
right.
So on those terms, but if I'm thinking of like really just my heart of heart personality, how I'm like just seeing it face to face, I'm like, I like the king of the hippies, which is John Lennon. And then you've
Yeah,
got George, of course, who was like kind of into like Hindu and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's maybe that. Yeah, I like that. Personality wise, I guess that's what I'm going
yeah, you
for.
could definitely see that. Yeah, I always felt that George really kind of he didn't really get a fair shot in that band, obviously because that was really a Lennon and McCartney
Yeah. I could.
situation,
Yeah. All
you
right.
know, and Harris was kind of the one that Harris and Starr were the ones that kind of were held back, more so Harris than Starr, but you saw that George had a lot more, especially as they came back off of that Middle East trip, that Middle Eastern run, and especially kicking off that '68 up until '70 with the White Album and Let It Be and Abbey Road. You could definitely tell that it was a little bit more to George than what met the eye or what we were given for those two. That or he was slighted for that 2 song thing on each album, or 4 songs depending on if you want to include the White Album being double.
And so is this the kind of stuff you talk about on your show on the weekends
Yeah,
on Let's Talk? You guys just kind of get into these conversations about like music and you just and then somebody says something you go, "Really? Hmm."
yeah, we try to get into the nuts and bolts of it, and so sometimes we have to make sure that we put in the music because because we get so entrenched into a conversation about the music that we need to play it so that folks can understand what we're talking about. The same goes for a guy like Art Sato,
Yeah.
and he gets into the nuts and bolts of the music, especially within tango or jazz, and at one time Latin jazz, but he's been on so many tours meaning um, different countries. He's been able to enhance musically, and you can hear all of that on Saturdays from 4 to 6 p.m. for In Your Ear.
Yeah, I just
And
put that up. Yeah, Art Sato. Yeah,
yeah,
I've come in actually when I was doing the news sometimes because the news is right after his show. So I've
right,
run into him and talked to him, and he says he's been doing that show
since
since the
81,
90s.
since 81 actually,
Oh, 81?
1981.
Oh, wow. Okay, like I really was less. Yeah, the 1980s.
Yeah,
Yeah, imagine going into the station every Saturday. Every Saturday.
yeah, the
Every
guys.
Saturday.
Yeah, I mean the guy is
A beast.
he's a beast with it, and one of the things he did this past Saturday, he and Horace Mansfield Jr., who had a show called Point of Departure, formerly on
Mhm.
Saturday afternoons at 2 o'clock. They both came in together and they just really got in the pocket of Pharoah Sanders. Pharoah Sanders, who recently transitioned, and he really got in the pocket of his music, especially during that run when Pharoah was with John Coltrane. And John Coltrane was going through a transition musically, and they talked about that. And Pharoah, McCoy Tyler, Elvin Jones, Rashid Muhammad, they were all kind of coming in. Alice Coltrane as well, who was John Coltrane's wife. They were all kind of coming in, and you can almost say kind of replacing the group that John Coltrane had, which was McCoy and Jimmy and Elvin. And so when you have two saxophones on stage, which is Pharoah and John, McCoy had really nothing else to do on the piano. So he's just sitting there like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So they talked a lot about that, but they also talked about the spiritual aspect of Pharoah's music. And when you listen to Pharoah Sanders as a player, I mean, it's like he's playing his heart out, or it's like a preacher in the pulpit, and he is just preaching his heart out. He is
Yeah.
preaching his soul out. And for me, whenever I get that experience, I get that whenever I listen to Pharoah Sanders, that's exactly what I feel.
Yeah.
Is that he's just giving you his soul and just putting it on you musically. And if you're not affected by that, you must have a soul in your heart. And for me, that's what Art Sato, excuse me, that's what Art Sato conveyed. Even just he enhanced what little I knew about Pharaoh. He just enhanced that 10 times over. And that's one thing I appreciate about a program like In Your Ear, is that
Nice.
you're going to get that. And that's why I love it so much, along with the others. But yeah, that's something that Art brings to the table. And that tandem with he and Horace, it doesn't get any better than that.
Nice. Okay, yeah, nice. So now you're saying all this makes me want to be like, I want to come over on your show and talk about music, and then I would here's my topic. You ready?
Hmm.
Okay, I would want to say if we're talking about grunge music, right? Like not 90s alternative. Who do you think is a better band? Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
I
Who
gotta go.
and actually, you know what? Pick that back. That's not even the right question. The real question is who wrote better songs? Nirvana, Pearl Jam.
I gotta go with Seattle. I gotta go with Nirvana on that one. I,
Pearl Jam's from Seattle too. They're both from Seattle.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. That is true. Pearl Jam is a Seattle, their Seattle situation as well. I don't know. It's just something about Kirk, and I think as I get older and I get more mature, and the things that I might experience in life, I think you can really understand. I don't know. I think you can understand what Kurt was going through. Just you just don't give up. But I
Don't
just
give up.
think that
Yeah.
you just don't want to give up. But I think those kind of I would have to say just his voice, his playing, the acoustic guitar. I don't know. It was like a crying out, and I think that sometimes in life you kind of go through those kind of things. But I think there was something in his voice that was able to be conveyed. It was just something. It was a conviction there that kind of spoke to me, especially at times in my life. And again, as I'm getting older, I can I appreciate those albums and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. So again, not to be devil's advocate, but then I would
Hmm.
say actually Pearl Jam. I would
You
be I
see,
would
go
say
Pearl.
I am team Pearl
You got
Jam.
PJ.
I am hardcore team Pearl Jam. And let me tell you why. Yes, you have Nirvana and their songs are great. Kurt Cobain is great. Even Dave Grohl is talking about they're simple, and then I like that, and I like that.
Yeah,
I get the real pop quality of it. But for me, what I like about Pearl Jam is that when you're listening to their songs and you really hear it, they have this real like American folk song quality that I feel like could just last for eons and eons, and that's why I will always pick Pearl Jam because I'm just like they're at the heart of it. Their songs are American folk songs, so.
I agree. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get you on that.
Good. Yeah. I just want to remind everybody here we are on the deck with our weekly recap. I'm being joined by D Minor. Antonio Ortiz is out today, and I'm feeling down, a little under the weather, hence the glasses and the tea.
I love the glasses though. The glasses are lit.
Yeah, thank you. Like that. I just got these
Yeah.
in LA. Actually, you know what I'm about to get? Check this out. You ready? Brace yourself, because this is about to be fire. And I'm really thinking of this, and I'm really like, I was on the fence, but I think I'm being pushed there more. Dude, I'm totally about to get a grill.
What?
Right? I know. I'm gonna get some bottoms.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. All
Right?
right.
I know. I've never done anything like that in my life, but I really feel like I'm really feeling called by the culture to just get a little.
You got to do it for the culture.
Yeah, I really do. I
Yeah,
really do. That's why I'm doing it.
do it for the culture.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? I was watching TV earlier today, and the Wendy Williams show. It's not on anymore, but I used to really love that show, and it was like part of my morning. Like it was always in my background. And then now, since it's off, there's this other show, Sherry Shepherd, which is cool, and I'm so
Yeah,
glad
that's
that
a
she
good
got a
show.
show. But I'm just like, it's so different. It's such a like. I was so used to my little like morning Ratchet Hood wake up versus Sherry Shepherd, who is good, but it's so like much more, a little bit more professional, a little bit more elegant. And so I kind of miss that. And so while I was watching it too, I was just like, dude, I got to get a grill.
I respect it. I can respect that for sure.
Yeah. So if you
No,
see it one day, you're just like, oh my gosh, she really got it. I'm be like, I know, I really got it. I can't
we're
believe
gonna
I
talk
got it.
about it on the deck.
We will. We're totally going to talk about
Yeah.
it. You're going to be like, wow, you got a grill. And I'm like, I know. It's trippy because I was so nerdy as a kid and so into like hardcore into rock music. So that I felt like if you talk to me as like a 16-year-old and you'd be like, hey, did you know that when you're an adult, you're going to get a grill? I'd be like, psh, you tripping. And now I feel like I can't believe I've gone this long in life without it. All right, everybody, thanks again for tuning in. This is KPFA's On the Deck. We do the weekly recap. I want to let everybody know that we've got a new monthly announcement video for October. Have you seen it? Have you seen it, D Minor?
I've seen a little bit of it.
Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this video.
Talk to us.
Oh, yeah. So it's our Halloween episode. And so we've got a talking pumpkin who does all of our announcements. Talking pumpkin. We've got a Ghostbuster working the board. We've got a love connection between hand sanitizer and COVID-19 who promo a show for us. And then we also have a nice music video at the end with a nun with a purge mask who plays guitar.
And then Kevin was on there too.
Yeah. Kevin Hunsinger, he's our development director. He does the announcements.
The talking pumpkin. Just I don't know. When I saw the talking pumpkin, I lost my mind. I was just like, oh, I love this. That
Yeah.
had me going. I was just like, yo, that's hot. That's lit right there.
Yeah. Imagine next year if we get
In
the
the
grill.
studio.
In the studio, but imagine next year if it has the grill.
Yes.
It'll be really hot fire.
Yeah, hot fire. Grease fire.
Grease fire. Yeah. So everybody tune into On the Deck. And remember, anything that we mention here in the show, you can find the link for it in the post there, so you can go and check it out for yourself. But yes, there's a new On the Deck monthly announcement video. Oh, that reminds me, I need to send it. You can also watch it around. Did you know that some of our videos are be playing on Berkeley Community Media? Have you seen them on public access? I have one of the stations, but then I don't have the other one. I don't know. Like I got the antenna TV and I use my grandmother's I use my grandmother's cable account so I can watch stuff on like cable.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
even
love
my
the
phone.
sound too. It's
Even my
adventure stuff.
phone is in my granny's name.
Hey, everything in my
It was in
granny's
his name. That's right. But I'm hood rich. Yeah, right. All right. Yeah. And just some quick announcements for other things that have been happening around the station in the past week. We want to mention that we're still in Fund Drive. And so we have a bunch of shows that are doing Fund Drive specials. We actually had 3 shows do Fund Drive specials. We had one from Upfront. Upfront is Wednesdays at 7 a.m. And they interviewed Scott Reynolds Nelson on the wheat empire. And they discover how wheat built and broke empires. Scott Nelson is the professor of history at the University of Georgia. Then we also had Behind the News. They had a Fund Drive special.
Okay,
Behind the
good one.
News is Thursdays at noon. Oh, did you listen to it? Did you hear it?
Yeah, I heard the last one. I heard last week's. Yeah.
Yeah. They featured Anatol Lieven on the horror in Ukraine. And they also had Anne Rumberger, who's the author of an article on the history of the Christians' right attitudes towards abortion. So they had a lot going on Behind the News. The very serious shows here. We're more of the fun shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We
I
got,
give the announcements. I like it for it to be fun, but we gotta make sure everybody remembers that KPFA is a very reputable station, and so we're already on it. And then also we had Letters and Politics with Mitch Jeserich, and that's Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Mitch also does live streaming too, and he did one with Reza Aslan, who is an internationally acclaimed writer, producer, and scholar of religions, and he's the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Zealot, and the editor of Tablet and Pen. And he came on talking about his latest book, An American Martyr in Persia, the epic life and tragic death of Howard Baskerville. So there is a lot going on with our Fund Drive specials. Yeah, we're still in Fund Drive, and I believe we're going at least through to the end of the week. I think we're about like 60% there of our goal. So yeah, if you're tuning in, tell your friends that we're still raising funds.
mhm,
Yeah, and you can also tune into things like Area 94.1. Have you checked out Area 94.1?
of course. That'd
Yeah.
be a sin not to.
Yeah.
Tap
Yeah,
in.
we've got some podcasts on there, which include Radio Walensky, and that's by Richard Walensky. I did an interview with him maybe like a month or so ago, and he told me all these people he had like interviewed who've written books, but like famous people, and he told me like the behind the he really spilled the tea on like authors, and I was like, dang, he knows it.
Yeah, because he was there. He was right there, all of that while it was going on. And so I think just with this conversation and him being an interviewer, he was able to really get in the pocket and really get like the skin peeling stories.
Yeah, I told him about one of my favorite authors, like one of my favorite books, and he was just like, "Oh, we can't read them. They're canceled." And I was like, "What's going on in the literary world?" Right? But yeah, he also hosts Bay Area Theater. And that's another podcast that is on Area 94.1. But there was also a new one by Law and Disorder, and Law and Disorder is our new show. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that one. I just started tuning into it though. Like
Yeah.
very very recent.
Yeah, they're in their weekday mornings. They are weekday mornings at 8 a.m. And that's with Kat Brooks. That's really good. Like
Mhm.
their first show was hot fire. They actually, for their very first show, this blew my mind. This is how I knew they were going to be dope. Their very first show was an interview with Chesa Bodine. And I was like, wow, that's pretty fancy. That was nice. I was kind of jealous. I'm like, oh, I want to be Kat Brooks.
I mean to come out come out sprinting like that with
Yeah,
a
come out just like
interview
that as
like
soon as I was
that.
swinging. All right. Yeah. Well, but this has been on the deck. We're doing the weekly recap, and now it is time for our donor highlight. So we want to take the time to say thank you to Sybil from Sausalito for donating to the station. She is one of the many donors who have contributed to our fund drive, but just regular time, we want to highlight some people and say thank you. Remember, if you donate, we'll check that and then we'll try to mention you if we can. We're still in fund drive, so you can contribute. You just go to kpfa.org/donate. But what I really wanted you to do is to follow us on social media. Like our posts, comment on them, share them with your friends. But follow us around at Facebook at KPFA 94.1 or Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And we're also on TikTok now at KPFA Radio. And we are also on twitch.tv. So this is actually broadcasting on there as well. So we're like totally branching out there. Our social
Yeah,
media
we are.
has been growing. And actually, I want to say thank you to D Minor for coming in to help um, pick up the ball where I guess Antonio couldn't make it this week. I was feeling under the weather. But yeah, D Minor, this is like your second or third time now coming to hang out with us on the deck. So we have to make sure you come back again just to hang out with us and make sure we're cool.
Would love to.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, anything that we mentioned here, you can find the link in the post and it'll take you there. And again, visit KPFA at kpfa.org and tune in to 94.1 FM. My name is mikO Tolliver. Thank you so much for joining us. Yay. Bye.